Black Ops 3 was a fantastic Call of Duty game, but that's not to say it was perfect. There were some pretty bad weapons in the multiplayer. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the worst of the worst. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. And today we're going to be doing my picks for the worst gun in every single class in Black Ops 3. We already did the best in every single class, meaning we're going to be talking about the worst assault rifle, the worst SMG, sniper rifle, LMG, shotgun, pistol, and launcher. Just like the last video. We're going to be talking about launch weapons in this game since there is a ton of supply drop guns that most players, let's be honest, they didn't get to use them. So you let me know what you thought about Black Ops 3 down in the comments. Drop a like. Make sure you guys are subscribed. If you're enjoying the face cam on the COD history videos, let me know. We start off in the assault rifle category. The worst. I'm going to go with the HVK 30. Before I say anything about the HVK, I want to establish the fact that there weren't really many bad guns in Black Ops 3. This was a very well-balanced game, and a lot of the guns we're going to talk about in this video were good. Matter of fact, they were completely viable, in some cases really good. So even though I'm calling the HVK the worst assault rifle in Black Ops 3, that doesn't mean I think it was a bad gun, because it honestly was pretty solid if you knew how to use it. But compared to the other rifles, it did have a handful of flaws that the others just didn't. It fired at 722 rounds per minute, which is pretty average for Call of Duty, and a rifle would kill in 4 to 5 shots. Once again, pretty average time to kill. The main appeal of the HVK lie in the handling, which was solid. Wasn't hard to stay on target and land those 4 to 5 shots consistently. But the reason I'm calling it the worst rifle in the game is simple. Because when you compare it to other rifles in the game, the time to kill was noticeably slower. It was. Rifles like the KM44, the M8A7, the Man of War. They could kill way faster, and they were genuinely easier to use because you didn't have to stay on target for as many shots as you would with the HVK. Even the less popular rifles, the XR2, the Shiva, they still had a much faster killing time and potential than the HVK, even if they were harder to use consistently. But again, the HVK was still perfectly viable. Actually has a pretty big fan club. It just left a lot to be desired in terms of raw TTK and ease of use. So that's why it got dubbed the worst. Now we move on to the SMGs. The Weevil. Another case where even though I'm calling it the worst SMG in the game, it's not a bad gun. And that just speaks volumes to Black Ops 3 as a whole. The Weevil was meant to be the Black Ops 3 equivalent of the P90. You had that 50 round mag by default, moderate fire rate, a magazine that was fed into the top of the gun instead of the bottom. But the Weevil also had very low damage per shot. Had some really hefty vertical recoil in order to keep people from spamming it too hard. And that was the main thing that held it back from being a high-tier SMG. And there were some really good SMGs in Black Ops 3. You had the obvious ones. You had the VMP. You had the Kuda. But you had sleeper hits like the Razorback and the Vesper. Heck, even the Pharaoh had a big fan club because of that nutty theoretical time to kill that it carried. The Weevil took a lot of kitting and practice in order to use effectively. Even when used optimally, it wasn't going to stand up to the other SMGs. With that being said, it wasn't a bad gun by any stretch of the imagination. Heck, I really enjoyed the Weevil. There was something fun running around, hip-firing people with a 50-round mag, and I think it was the biggest magazine in the default in the class, I think. So again, just because it's the worst SMG doesn't mean it was a bad gun, because it had some sauce if you were willing to work a little harder than usual to get it out. Now we go to LMGs. And I know, they don't get enough love. And the good side, the bad side, it doesn't matter. Black Ops 3 had a couple hard-hitting LMGs, but the worst, I'm going to go with the Gorgon. It's actually kind of tough. I knew the Dingo and the BRM weren't going to be here because they were both pretty powerful. So that left me with the Gorgon and the Dredge. Now, the Gorgon fired incredibly slow, but it also killed in 2 shots from basically anywhere on the map. The 48 Dredge, 6-round burst. Crazy. Extremely hard to get the hang of it, but it also had some insane potential once you put the work in. Ultimately, I went with the Gorgon because of how slow it fired. Even though it killed in 2 bullets, that pathetically slow fire rate meant it was really easy for people to just bob and weave in between your shots and then take you out. Now, when I say it was slow, I mean it was slow. This thing only fired at 327 rounds per minute, which is one of the slowest fire rates in Call of Duty history. And on top of all that, the cherry, the Gorgon's handling and ADS speeds were comically slow, so it was almost impossible to use aggressively the way you could use the other LMGs. It required this very specific player and very specific play style to use effectively. Even if you played to the strengths, it was entirely possible for you to be completely invalidated by an enemy player who knew how to do it more. It did have potential. I get that. I understand that. But it's got to be the worst LMG in the game at launch. I'm proud of that one. I thought that one through. The worst sniper rifle. I don't know if you call it the Draken or the Draken. We're going to call it the Draken. Should be pretty universal, I think. Black Ops 3 and 4 snipers at launch. 2 of them were incredible, the Locust and the SVG-100. Then there was the P06, which was super difficult to get the hang of, but it was also absolutely absurd in the right hands, like Pamage's hands. That left us with the Draken. Probably the easiest sniper to use, but I think it was the least effective. Semi-auto sniper. Did come with a 20-round mag. That was nice by default. Could kill with a single shot to the head, but it was more than likely going to require you 2 shots to kill. And there was no aim assist in Black Ops 3, so it was a tall order. Pretty low recoil. I mean, rather high fire rate cap, so it wasn't hard to get follow-up shots, but it was the worst in the game. At least at launch, right? I mean, one-shot kills were way more consistent with everything other than the Draken. They were. And with how fast-paced and vertical Black Ops 3 was as a game, you kind of needed a good one-shot kill potential in order to succeed as a sniper. If you fired a sniper shot at somebody and you didn't kill them with a full bullet, they were just going to start boost jumping, wall running, completely evade you before you could get the follow-up shot. The Draken had potential. It did. Basically everything in the game had potential. But it was easily the worst sniper in the game at launch. Granted, if we were including DLC weapons, the worst sniper would hands down be the Dragoon, but since we're only talking about launch weapons, I have to go with the Draken. I think it's fair. You let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Now, shotguns. I'm just thinking back to all the DLC weapons that Black Ops 3 put in the game. It's just mind-blowing. Anyway, the worst shotgun. Haymaker 12. I mean, it was fully automatic shotgun. That sounds great. Had some potential, pretty decent on its own, but it was largely overshadowed by, guess what? Our favorite 205 Brecci. Obvious reasons. I mean, if you wanted to spammy shotgun in Black Ops 3, there was absolutely no reason ever to not use the Brecci because the Brecci was completely broken. We've griped about it so many times on this channel. Now, this came with a 16-round mag by default, fired at 300 rounds per minute. That's generous for a full auto shotgun, but the trade-off was the fact that it took 2 to 3 shots to kill. So the TTK was actually pretty average compared to other close-range weapons in Black Ops 3. It was fun to run around with and spam. I'll admit the firing sound mixed with the Black Ops 3 hit marker sound was actually really satisfying. But if we're talking stats and we're talking gameplay, it's hard to argue that the Haymaker wasn't the worst shotgun in the game. Because not only was it going up against the Brecci, it's also going up against the Argus with the coolest reload ever, and the KRM-262, both of which were pretty bananas in the right hands. The Haymaker 12, it was a perfectly balanced full auto shotgun, but the competition in the shotgun category was way too good for it to even try to make a name for itself, so it gets put at the bottom. And once again, most of these weapons are pretty good. I understand that. Now let's talk about pistols. I think this one's pretty easy. You let me know if you agree or disagree. The worst pistol in Black Ops 3, the LCAR-9. Not too long ago, I said this was one of the most underrated pistols in COD history, and I stand by that. But at the same time, it was easily the worst pistol in the game, and I don't think there's going to be any disagreement on that because the competition was the MR6 and the RK5. The LCAR-9 was a fully automatic handgun, 20-round mag, pretty sweet, but only fired at 722 rounds per minute, dealt a maximum of 30 base damage, and headshots only brought that up to 33. Only brought it up by 3. So you didn't really get any TTK bonus for hitting headshots. You're going to need at least 4 bullets to kill a full health enemy with the LCAR-9, and that can feel like a long time with a fire rate of 722. That being said, the purpose of it was to be that quick secondary weapon you could use to clean up weakened enemies. I know that. But this was not a secondary weapon meant to be used as a primary, so I can't really be mad at the fact that it wasn't good for killing full health enemies. But at the end of the day, we have to pick one. The MR6 and the RK5, not going to be those. I mean, insane killing power and quick handlings. I mean, they were just crazy, right? I think the LCAR-9 was underrated because it was way better than people said it was, but it's still the worst in the game. It is. Yeah, it is. Competition was just too stiff. Now let's talk about launchers. I don't think this one's really hard, but then again, I don't know. The XM53. There's only 2. XM53 and the Black Cell. Since I called the Black Cell the best launcher in the previous video, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say the XM53 was worse. That's right, trying to keep the cannon going here, right? The XM53 could be free fired or locked onto an enemy score streak, and the score streak damage was pretty solid. In fact, the score streak damage was the exact same as the Black Cell, but what made the XM53 worse was the fact that it only came with 1 reserve rocket compared to the 3 reserve rockets that you got with the Black Cell. I mean, come on. And that free fire damage was pretty pathetic too. If you free fired the XM at an enemy player, you basically had to hit them directly with it in the chest in order to land a kill. I mean, the blast radius was comically small, and there's some pretty funny clips out there, people firing it, an entire group of enemies on domination on flags, get 4 hit markers, and not a single kill on the team. So basically, The XM53 was only good for shooting down score streaks, and compared to the Black Cell, it was way worse at the job, so it was the worst launcher in the game. You let me know where you agree or disagree. Let me know what Call of Duty game we head to next in this ranking every class series that we've been doing. And I truly, truly appreciate you guys. I really, really do. I'll see you soon.